I work with textiles and explore the inherent spirituality that comes with sewing and crocheting, the rhythmic, repetitive motions of the art, and how it is widely considered a mindful practice. My research question is based on how other artists explore their personal approach to spirituality with a focus on motherhood. I discuss the works of Billy Zangwill, Tracey Emin, and Annegret Salter. Each artist explores a different corner of motherhood in their work, whether that be having children, not having children, or focusing on the pregnant bodies that create life. When I got back into the studio, I knew I wanted to work with textiles, but was finding it hard to get the ball rolling. I started making crocheted granny squares, and I put them up in my studio as a way of getting my creative juices flowing. My main idea is to use applique as a storytelling technique to portray my personal spiritual connections. I also focus on the mindfulness of the act of sewing by showing an intrinsic approach to making art that doesn't rely on telling a narrative in order to translate my approach to spirituality. After getting an idea of what I wanted to create, I started experimenting with techniques in the textile workshop. I explored freehand embroidery and used the technique in a couple of ways, on lace and on a piece of material with a heat transferred image on it, combining technique and a narrative. The image I heat transferred was one which showed me crocheting from a first person perspective. I also tried my hand at hand embroidery, which gave a different effect than using the sewing machine. The stitching was larger and emphasised the rhythmic motion of the thread. As the spiritual element of my work is not always apparent to viewers, I am currently working on making a space for meditation by creating rugs, blankets and cushions. My research relies heavily on connection between spirituality and motherhood, along with the connection between the art of craft and spirituality. I am also passionate about the fact that craft isn't taken seriously within the art scene and how crochet, knitting and stitching should be considered art instead of a domestic hobby. I have found through my work that textile work requires time and dedication and should be taken more seriously. The artist who has influenced me the most with their work is Billy Zangwill, who is a South African textile artist. She works with silk cut-offs and hand sews them together to create collages of intimate domestic scenes. Her collages act as storytelling tools and puts the audience in her shoes, especially the works that feature her son. The love for her son is reflected in the delicate technique of hand sewing. Most of the fabric that I use comes from my local haberdashery. I buy bags of scrap patchwork fabric, which I sort out and use to create scenes. I also get fabric from the rag market in Birmingham, and my nan and auntie have collected and given me some old material that they no longer need. My process could be seen as quite hectic as I lay out all my fabric on the floor and rummage through trying to find the perfect piece. I start by drawing a rough sketch of what I want to depict, and then cut out the major shapes to then use as templates for the fabric. When I'm not in the studio, I work in my bedroom and I thrive in organised chaos as it keeps my imagination and creativity engaged. I frequently visit Darren in the textile workshop to use the freehand embroidery method on the sewing machine and the heat transfer press. My most recent work sees me exploring with applique. My first piece is a scene showing me at my most peaceful, crocheting in bed. It is my first attempt at making a textile collage and I'm happy with how it turned out, so much so that I think I've found my niche and the thing that I want to keep making. I also made a bigger applique piece based off a picture of me and my mom when I was about 3. It's made of thinner material and held together by looser, bigger stitches which are visible to the viewer. I have always enjoyed working with textiles, and this is evident in my work from first and second year as well as this year. Here are some pieces of textile work that I've made during my time at university. I experimented with sewing and choice of fabrics to create texture and depth in my work. I also made some political pieces like Scrutiny and Can't Help But Touch. Scrutiny was a comment on how the trans community was being wrongfully scrutinised at the time, and how the public's eye were on the wrong people. Can't Help But Touch was a piece about sexual harassment. Another piece focused on the importance of female friendships, which is a personal piece and includes embroidery based on photographs of me and my friends. In second year, I collaborated with the Crochet Knitters Guild during the Threads module and created a quilted blanket embroidered with the members' happiest memories.